Welcome, Kristin Shea, to the Love You Even More podcast. Kristin is a visibility and identity coach. She has been on the podcast before. You guys loved her. I got so much mail, so many comments. People, she's back. You're welcome.
Thank you
um,
for having me back.
I'm so happy to have you back.
Me too.
Today, we are going to talk about timelines and karmic relationships. We were
Mhm.
talking about this the other day. I just brought it up in conversation and it just poofed. Like there was so much to talk about. So we thought we'd come and talk to you guys about it and see what else comes out because knowing us, something will definitely be coming out.
It always
It
does.
always does. But anyway, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back. I'm super excited and I'm so excited about this topic.
I know. Oh God, like where do we even start? Well, first of all, let's just talk about karmic relationships and
Yeah.
like what does that mean to you?
Yeah. I think there is so many different narratives around karmic relationships. How I've understood them, both from like the channeling aspect that I've done, as well as my own personal experience, is that in it at its like innate foundation, karma is just balance, right? It's just restoring balance to something that was out of balance. And so when that comes up in a relationship, it can go a lot of different directions depending on
Mhm.
where we're at in our journey, but it doesn't always mean a bad thing, right? Like I think
Yeah.
sometimes we hear karmic relationships and we're kind of like, ooh, that means it was like traumatic or some
Right.
type of unfavorable experience. I think karmic relationships come in a couple of different ways. I think there's ones where there's for sure past life situations that are
Mhm.
getting rebalanced, right?
Mhm.
Maybe you guys killed each other in a past life. Maybe there was, cheating or something, but there's something that needs to be restored and brought to balance.
Right.
But I think at its core, it's actually an opportunity for us on our soul journey. It's almost like a checkpoint. Like, are you done with
Mhm.
this karmic lesson you came into this life with? Here's this beautiful karmic relationship or person to reflect to you like a mirror right in your face that you cannot look away from. And
Mhm.
it's almost that choice point. And it's less about the person and more about the cycle or the lesson that you're here to learn.
I agree with all of that. I think we all have our soul contracts that we decide upon before we come to this planet, before we're in this
Mhm.
body, and we're coming in to hopefully do those soul contracts and
Yeah.
complete them and move forward. I don't think that always happens, but that's what's so interesting about these karmic relationships is that you have them. And yes, usually they are complicated or challenging, but they're really important. And we were just talking about this like event that I'm actually not going to, but it would be a very karmic event
Hmm.
to go to since it was something that happened. Like all these people were in my life in a very different timeline in a very different time in my life. And I'd see them all again. And I was like, oh, the fact that I can't go, it just felt so understandably like that is done. Those
Hmm.
connections, that's karmic relationships, they're done. And
Yeah.
also, I had said to you, and I truly like, I double down on this. When you've completed a connection with someone, a karmic connection, you never see them again, like ever.
Oh.
It's terrifying. It's as if they
It is.
just disappeared from the planet.
It's so true. It is so true. It's so funny. It's like they literally no longer exist.
No, no. And I bet you don't exist to them either. They're like, oh,
Right.
remember that girl?
You're in like these different dimensions, different realities. Like you
Yeah.
literally could be on the other side of this. Actually, have you ever experienced where you're out somewhere in public and you see someone that reminds you of someone
Mm,
from like 15 years ago,
mm.
but like you get this sense of like, oh, that's just them on a different timeline. Like that really is that person, even though it's not them. Do you know what I mean? Like we're just
Oh,
our higher versions of ourselves. Have you ever had that?
I don't know if I've ever had that completely. I've certainly
Yeah.
seen people that look like people, and I've seen that recently with somebody or a
Mm.
couple of people, and I'm like, huh, interesting. Are you just thinking about me a lot? And I'm just seeing
Right.
you, like, kind of. So I
Yeah.
wonder if maybe that's part of it, where
Okay.
maybe your soul kind of does need something else. So you see like a copycat version of them
Yeah.
to sort of get that. I don't know. What do you
Yeah,
think?
jog that memory or bring something back because it usually brings up something, right? You're like, oh,
Hmm.
what was I doing at that point in my life? Or there's times where that happens and I kind of shudder. I'm like, ooh, glad I'm not back there. Like,
I know.
so sometimes it is just those little, everything is just a mirror, right? Like we were saying the other day, it's like
Yeah.
life is literally just the algorithm. It is a mirror just constantly reflecting something to you.
It is. So let's talk about
Yeah.
karmic relationships that do actually
Mhm.
keep coming back around. The ones that
Yeah.
like don't seem to be completed, or I can hear so many people being like, we just keep coming back to each other. He must be my twin flame. And I'm like, oh, well,
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh, the
let's
twin flame.
uh I have issues about the twin flame
Same.
title. What are your feelings about that? Like coming back around in twin
Oh,
flames.
man, I think it is so distorted and so toxic.
Hmm.
I honestly would view it as like a form of spiritual warfare in a way. Like the narrative around it has kept people, like I have met so many people who stay in these horrendous circumstances in these relationships and accept just this insane treatment because
Hmm.
they think it's their twin flame. And I think that narrative is like keeping people in things that they should never be in. I do believe twin flames exist. I don't believe they exist in the way we're like generally taught about it and mainstream talks about it. Like
Yeah.
toxic is toxic, whether it's a
Yeah.
twin flame or not, right?
I agree with that. I want to know what your definition of a twin flame is.
Yeah, I think your twin flame is somebody who activates you into your highest self. And I think at times that can look uncomfortable, but it's not toxic. It's they're calling you into a higher level of yourself, not tearing you down or,
Yeah.
reflecting these horrible things back to you. But it's almost like for each other, you are calling each other into higher levels. So it's like this self-improvement process, but in a much higher vibrational way, not in this like you see each other and then they take off and run or like some of those things. I'm like, that's
Hmm.
just not true. That's not how like, and if you were, I guess when I think about it on a broader perspective, like God, source, spirit, universe, however anyone aligns to it, it's such pure, unconditional love.
Hmm.
To think that we would be meant to experience a twin flame in that most toxic way
Hmm.
just tells me we've really lost our way in that understanding.
Okay, let's talk about that because I can
Yeah.
absolutely hear people being like, yeah, but I'm hearing like religious context here too of like,
Mhm.
oh no, like, you're being tested. This is like a challenge. Can you like pass the
Yeah.
test? I do think we are tested, but not in the way of like punishment from like
Mhm.
God or the source or anything like that. I think it's more just you do always have free will. You can choose whatever adventure you want.
Choose
It's
your
up to you.
adventure. Yeah.
Oh my God, you can do whatever you want. But if you do choose to keep going back to the toxic relationship or
Mhm.
staying with the toxic relationship in the name of like loyalty or love or he or she is my twin flame, I
Yeah.
mean, that's when it really, the spirituality, for me at least, like completely drains out of the relationship. And then you're just looking at a very toxic, abusive cycle right there. And
Yeah.
someone just needs to be in therapy.
At least at the
Like
minimum.
I know I'm a therapist and I'm very spiritual, but like there's a point where I'm like, that's not spiritual anymore.
Yeah.
That's just wrong.
Yeah, just abuse at that point.
It's just abusive.
Yeah.
Like I honestly like think of a relationship in my family that looks like that, and I'm not in contact with them, but I always feel bad for the wife, but
Yeah.
I never, but recently have thought like, yeah, but she's continued to choose this for decades. This is her
Right.
choice. And I'm not here to save her and teach her anything. Like she's had plenty of opportunity to
Yeah.
leave or have a different life or, it's really like if you're in this toxic relationship, this quote twin flame relationship, you're choosing to be in it for as long as it works. Now, I think in the healthier twin flame version, which you were
Yeah.
talking about, you're being like pulled up and like asked to level up. And I think that is very real and that
Yeah.
happens. And that doesn't feel super comfortable, but it's challenging in like a good way. And
Right.
people can use that to evolve. And that's the soul contract that we like came here to have with them and decided like, yes,
Mhm.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to have this contract with you. Like, I'm not going to choose to not have it
Yeah,
with you. And it can be really incredible. And then when it's done, it's done. Like,
right.
that's it. You don't get to be friends forever. Like, it ends. Whether,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know how it can end in so many different ways, but like, have you had experiences where it just ended abruptly? Because I feel like they always do kind of end like abruptly, like, it's done and scene.
Yeah, it's abrupt, it's out of nowhere, it doesn't make sense. You can't logically, it's not like there's maybe even a big blowout or it just really feels like it fades away.
Mm,
I think the blowout type scenarios come when that contract's been trying to close and you're not letting it. And so sometimes that is kind of like the tower moment, the divine
mm,
intervention that comes in to force us to, make the move, whatever one we decide. But I think most of the time it's almost like just a split in timelines and you guys just kind of like, I don't know, it's weird. You kind of fade
yeah.
away and there's not
Yeah.
this big dramatic thing.
I agree. Okay, so let's talk about timelines.
Yeah.
Tell me thoughts on timelines.
Yeah. So I think in a general perspective, when I think about the quantum field, there's infinite potential, infinite timelines available to us. And just like you said, choose your own adventure. That's essentially what we're doing. We're just every choice we make is navigating what timeline are we on, right?
Mm,
And I do believe our soul comes down here with a very specific experience in mind. And, I want to experience XYZ to heal these parts. I want to experience these emotions and just this very like beautiful outlined experience that doesn't always feel beautiful on the human level when you're the one in it.
mm-hmm.
But at every moment you're experiencing all these timelines as you are moving towards your destined experience, whatever that is for you,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's different for everybody. And you can stay on a timeline too long. Like you can stay and not, like, we're here for constant growth. We're not here to be stuck or stagnant, right? Energy is always
Mm-hmm.
moving. We're meant to move. Things only really get uncomfortable when we stay stuck. Even, and I say stay stuck, it doesn't feel like a choice when you're in that, but it is a choice to not, keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, there are specific points where we see these collective shifts of humanity's timeline because we're navigating a lot of timelines personally, but I think as a collective, we're also navigating these bigger timelines together and
Yeah,
shifting.
absolutely.
And I think that's what we were kind of talking about the other day or realizing through our conversation was just like, whoa, this is a much bigger shift than just you and I are experiencing right now.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Okay.
Yeah.
So you were saying about a year and a half ago, there seems to be a timeline that's sort of like back in the mix all of a sudden.
Mhm.
Talk a little bit more about like what that is to you and what that means.
Yeah. So I look back to a year and a half ago and um, actually, I'll back up a little bit. So, what essentially even brought this up is I had someone from my past that I have not been in touch with reach out to me out of nowhere in a way that didn't make sense. And this person, just like we were talking about earlier, there was no big mess at the end. No, nothing happened. We just simply, our contract ended and we kind of went our separate ways, right? So still carry lots of love for this person and wish them all the best. But this person reached out and I was like, this is so bizarre that this person is reaching out to me right now. And because I'm so aware of timelines, I'm like, huh, why would that timeline be like knocking at the door right now? What was kind of going on at that time?
Mm-hmm.
And so I start going back to old journal entries and just kind of like looking back at what was happening. And I'm like, oh, I'm seeing like a lot of these themes come back up right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm navigating that. And then I have a girlfriend who is also navigating that. And so we start talking and she's, mentioning how this other person just reached out to her out of nowhere. And I'm like, oh, what, like, when was the last time you talked to this person? And so she shares it and it's like the same timeline. And then you and I are at lunch and we're having this conversation and you're having like a very similar experience. And it's like all this 1.5 to 2 year timeline that is like closing out. And so then it's really looking at like, what does this actually mean? Like the contracts with those people ended. But what I believe is happening right now is the patterns within ourselves are now ending that were present at
Mm-hmm.
that time.
Yeah, that tracks. That very much tracks. And like, where are you at that point? Like, now it's been a year and a half, 2 years. Like, have you learned the lesson? Are
Learn.
you there? Are you there to like fully
Mhm.
release it? Which is so interesting because, you know, I think a lot of us, we work on ourselves and we get through a lot of stuff. And sometimes it's just in the settling after you've like gotten the lesson that it starts to integrate. It takes time. And maybe that's what this year and a
Mhm.
half moment is for a lot of people. I mean, certainly the three of us.
Right.
And I mean, gosh, just the weird signs and synchronicities that came up after that conversation. I was like,
Right.
oh my God.
I know it
Like,
was wild.
what?
And I'm
But
seeing it with clients. I'm seeing it just like in the ethers of just like so many different year and a half to 2 year timelines are like popping up again. And I really do believe part of that is like the collective is having this evolutionary shift into a higher vibration. And I know it doesn't
mm,
feel that way to many based on what's happening on the world stage, right?
mm,
But to understand that that is a part of the process, as dark as it is a part of it.
yeah,
And I believe we are choosing as a collective a higher timeline right now. And so I think everybody is seeing their own individual piece of that. And oh, if I'm choosing this higher timeline, these patterns, behaviors, character traits, personality traits, like those pieces of me have to go
yeah,
in order for the higher embodiment, right?
right. Or they come up for review and they're like, hey, and then that could look like
Yeah,
a test, right? Like that
that
could
could be,
look
yeah,
like your little last test and like how did you handle it? What
right.
did you choose? Now that you know better, do you do better or do you just say like, no, no, this is
Yeah.
fine. I'm gonna do it again.
You're like, I'm back again for another loop.
I'm just gonna do it one more time. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's when I think about this is something that I've actually noticed recently and just like some reflection because I've been reflecting a lot, a lot, a lot.
Yeah.
I've noticed that I've been the one to leave all of my like major relationships that were not all of them, but so more of them than not. When I knew it was time, whether that was a job or a romantic
Yeah.
relationship or a friendship, like I knew without a doubt it was done. And I had tried and done my best, but it was either just, it was like you said, it kind of almost like out, or what is it? Outstayed its welcome or something, where you're
Yeah.
just like, like this is so curdled, like I gotta go.
Yeah.
Or it just naturally like fades away. And
Mm.
I've very much experienced both. But it's just interesting to think like, oh, even at every age, I've always known like it's time to go. And while some of these people, I did not want to leave. I
Right.
did not want to leave. I bawled my eyes out with one of them. It was so intense because I think he was actually a twin flame who was like, I'm going to come on in and I'm going to show you how to level up. And it was this really great moment in my 20s to
Yeah.
like get me to level up even further. And I was like, I hate this and love you.
Yeah.
So,
All at the same time.
you know,
That's so complicated.
it's so complicated. But like, I was the one to just be like, I'm done. Like, I am
Yeah.
definitely done with this and I love you and I wish it were different. And that's kind of what I've always said to people when things have finally completed is that, I do wish this could be different sometimes, not every
Yeah.
time. Um, and then I like leave because it's
Yeah.
just there's energetically like in my body like I can't stay. I don't
Right.
I once you know the truth, you just can't unknow the truth. And if you know that the
Yeah.
relationship is over, the karmic connection is like done, you've come here to do what you were supposed to do. It just there is no more connection. Like I mean, I don't know if you feel this, but I'll feel that like we just can't connect anymore. Like we can't talk. We
Yeah.
just can't find anything in common. It's just truly just over. And
Yeah.
it's very simple, but yeah, the reflection of like, oh, I'm so proud of myself for always leaving, even when I didn't
Yeah.
want to, or even when I did. I was like,
Yeah.
bye.
That's actually incredible because I think that's a very rare experience. Just what I've seen across the board with clients and then even with myself. I think now I'm the one who leaves when I feel that. I was not. I was begging to be chosen though before,
Mm,
for many, many years. So the fact that you can reflect back on that and see that you've always been the one to be like, okay, that's huge. That's like such a testament to your awareness, but also your ability to choose yourself in those moments, even when it doesn't feel like choosing yourself in some some cases, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, you're right. It doesn't feel like you're choosing yourself. You feel like you're choosing the like worst case scenario, but it's the only
Hmm.
choice you have. So it's not
Yeah.
like I wanted most of this, but
Yeah.
again, some of it I did. Some of it I was like, no way.
Yeah.
But it's so painful. And I think
Yeah.
that's part of these karmic relationships where you just, I mean, I did actually just end a friendship that I had had for years recently. And it was
Wow.
really surprising to me. Like, I had felt that things were starting to like just complete themselves, but I also wasn't aware that it was going to like be over. And we did end up having this weird fight out of nowhere. And I just was watching this fight happen and it was so in my body of like, oh my God, I know what this pattern is. I know what this is. And
Mm.
now I can't unknow who you are, what this is. And I was like, yeah, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And it's
Friendship
just
breakups are so hard.
so hard, but also like, you know you've made the right choice when you're like you can think about them, but you still always know like no, I made the right choice.
Yeah.
And it's weird. Like I do think sometimes yeah, it comes abruptly and you're just like, "Oh." But again, when you have like the knowledge of what's going on, you're like, I can't unsee this now. I know what this is. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
That it's like taking off those rose-colored glasses, right? And
Mhm.
it's all of a sudden like you have a very crystal clear view of this person and the dynamic between the two of you and just everything that it is within you. And it's like every relationship is also, I think when we end a relationship, we're ending an identity of our
Mm.
own because we
Mhm.
existed as a certain way within that. And so sometimes I found in my own experience, it doesn't even have anything to do with that person. It's that my identity has shifted back to closer to my soul self,
Yeah.
right? As we peel back the false identities that we're wearing and that person no longer fits with that vibration of who I am. And so it's
Right.
almost like once you see that you can't unsee it and you're just like, well, there's also nothing to force here. I'm not the person you think that I am. And that's hard
Yeah.
too.
You know what's so interesting? That is exactly what happened. And I
Mm,
think that she saw it in me before I saw it in me. I think that
probably.
she was already like intuitively sensing that like I was going back to closer to who I was. And
Yeah.
talk about timelines. I mean, she was part of like the last like 9, 10 years of my life, which is a very, very long time. And I really never felt like myself in those 10 years. I was trying to
Wow.
get back to myself and like was kind of in some ways, but not fully. And
Yeah.
I think that she also saw that. Like she saw that I was getting closer and closer and closer. And it suddenly like, just wasn't aligning ever. Like,
Right.
and again, not in like big ways. Like I didn't see this coming.
Mm,
But I do think like on a much higher level, maybe she did.
yeah.
And so,
That's
yeah,
good.
it's a very interesting thought.
Yeah, yeah. I actually resonate with that experience so much. This person that had reached out to me, I actually feel that is what happened a year and a half ago.
Mm.
Almost that same experience where I was going through this massive metamorphosis. I've told you many times, and to your audience as well. Like 2 years ago, I was rock bottom, left the narcissist, and so this year and a half, 2 year time frame is when that whole situation was,
Oh, Lord.
unfolding. And I resonate with that so much where I feel like that friend knew what was happening, and saw it from I don't know, a bird's eye view, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, what I myself couldn't see, because I remember it all kind of happening in that same way where it's just like, it's done. And I didn't fight it being done,
Yeah.
but it felt like a surprise to me out of nowhere. But I do think that this person saw it,
Yeah.
far, far in advance and probably, they see you going back to yourself. So it's like you guys are no longer in resonance. But I also think it triggers the part of them, that isn't having that same experience.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
I mean, I always felt like the odd man out with her and
Mhm.
also within her group of people who were very nice people. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with
Yeah.
anyone, by the way. Like, not a bad person. Just like, I was like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
This is wrong. I don't understand why I'm here. Um,
Mm. Nothing
yeah,
is worse than not feeling like that feeling of not fitting in or being like, I don't feel like I belong here.
yeah, exactly. But
Mhm.
you're kind of like, well, I'll see what this is like for a bit.
Yeah. I'll play
Anyway,
around in this part of the reality.
right. Maybe I'll learn something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, and I mean, you are an identity coach, and I love that that's what you work with so much and visibility of like once you get through these karmic relationships, which they always come. It's not like you get through them and you're like, that's it, no more karmic relationships.
Yeah.
I'm done. I've learned
Yeah.
everything,
If only.
right? They're forever, but like
Yeah.
you do really learn so much if you're
Mhm.
willing to learn
Yeah.
through them and about yourself and choosing people afterwards as well.
Mhm.
Um, Strangely, after that friendship ended, I feel like the most incredible people just started ushering into my life. And I'm like,
Wow.
suddenly I have a life? Wait, what?
Yes.
Wild.
You clear the energetic block. We don't
Hmm.
realize how much keeping people that are not in resonance with us around, how much staying in the job we're not supposed to have, how much like when
Hmm.
we're staying on these timelines or in these karmic circumstances, whatever they might be, it is a literal block in our energetic field. Like I'm always talking about the quantum field and your frequency broadcasting out.
Hmm.
And when you are in this karmic dynamic and choosing to stay in it or not letting things in, like your frequency literally can't go out. So
Yeah.
then you're not going to find the aligned friendships, the aligned partners, the collaborations, and it's like as soon as you let that go, your energy is able to expand. And then it's just like boom, 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 boom. Like, everybody
Yeah.
finds you or things just pop into your field and you're like, whoa, I thought about this
Yeah.
today and here's the opportunity. And it's so cool.
Totally.
So if anybody is feeling this karmic timeline kind of closing up or you're having those people, just remember, make whatever choice you feel aligned to make. But even if you have to walk away or close something down, just know on the other end of that, you are opening up like 10 lines of communication to whatever it is that you want, opportunities, friendships, relationships, love, all of
Yeah.
it.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I mean, actually, now that I think about that, like twin flame from my 20s, when I like shut that down, it did bring in like a very karmic relationship about a year, not even a year, maybe like 8 months later. And
Yeah.
that was an incredibly important relationship for me as
Mm.
like a person, as a therapist. And so much,
Wow.
just shifted in the right way. Like people have to leave your life and you have to leave
Mhm.
others. And
Yeah.
you can do it with love. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes it's not. But,
Yeah.
I really, really do believe we choose these lessons. And
Mhm.
I think there are definitely people who are like afraid and want to like run from the lesson or
Yeah.
run from the person. Actually, let's talk about this because I can
Yeah.
also hear somebody going, but he's just avoidant. And I'm
Oh,
like,
we're always trying to paint the red
sure.
flag green.
Right, exactly. So let's talk about the girl who's
Yeah.
like, he's perfect for me and I love him, but he's
Mm.
avoidant. So I give him his space.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that in a karmic relationship.
Hmm.
Thoughts?
I mean, it's immediately reflecting back to you something that your soul is asking you to look at, right? Like, why are you okay with accepting avoidant, right? Because that means in some
Mhm.
way they're not meeting whatever connection, desire, need, whatever that is within you. And so we're so quick to make an excuse to accept less because we're afraid something isn't on the other side of that. But if we look at everything with like this, just a more open, well, first of all, especially if this is a girl with an avoidant guy dynamic, Disney screwed all of us
Oh, yeah.
with that. Like we're so programmed and implanted with this like avoidant male, give them their space, let them come around, like, and then we've even got some distortion on what the divine feminine frequency is. Like, there's so much around that. But at
Hmm.
the end of the day, it's really looking at that as a pattern because it is in every area of your life. If you are willing to accept less here,
Hmm.
you're willing to accept less everywhere. Like, that's one of the things I teach with visibility is like, it is impacting every area of your life.
Hmm.
Relationship, it's impacting your money. So if you're accepting less here, you're also like not showing up for what you're worthy of. And so
Hmm.
I guess you just really have to look at where does that pattern come from and why do I want to change who I am or what I desire to experience to fit what someone else is capable of providing? Why are
Right.
we matching that energy versus, you know, I also think it's really beautiful in a relationship to be calling each other into your highest expressions. So also, why are you accepting less from him when you could call him up into a higher version of himself and maybe he meets you there and maybe he doesn't.
Mm.
But to bring yourself down to meet what somebody else is able to provide is, I mean, it's asking you to look at a lesson.
What's very interesting about that dynamic is that what
Mm.
usually happens is the girl's like, ugh, I give up, like, fine, it's over. He just leaves. And then he finds someone else shortly thereafter and marries her. And you know who he finds? You know who he finds? A
Mm.
woman who's super strong in herself, someone who
Hmm.
knows herself, doesn't take any bullshit,
Yeah.
and he eats it up because that power did bring him up, right?
Yeah.
So you're like not, you're trying to cater to his distance and tiptoe around and walk on eggshells isn't calling him up at all. It's actually
Mm.
deflecting him. Like he's being rejected almost because
Yeah.
who comes to that? Like, have you ever had someone who was like super insecure make you want to go be with them? Like ever?
No.
No.
You want
So
to stay,
when
it's so repelling. You want to stay as far away from it as you can. Yeah.
exactly. So, for any of those women or girls who are listening who are like, I just need to give him his space, I really want you to look at like what your frequency is that you're putting out. Like, if you
Hmm.
know you're an awesome girl, but with this person, you bring your frequency down and you abandon yourself and forget who you are and tiptoe around whoever he is, like, as a therapist, there's some work to do there. Okay. There's
Yeah.
some work around that
Yeah.
that can get you to the girl he ends up with. Not because you're supposed to be with him, but you're supposed to be your best version of yourself, right? And
Yeah.
that's how you call in your highest partner.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one's gonna come down and meet you where you think they are because he doesn't
Right.
believe he's in that lower vibration. He's just doing his
Hmm.
thing. He's like, I just
Right.
don't connect with you, period. And that's fine, right? Like,
Right.
that's fine. But it doesn't mean it's a karmic relationship necessarily. I think it just
Oh.
means you're in different frequencies. Depends on the relationship, but.
Yeah. And every relationship dynamic or interaction, it's getting you closer and closer to like your divine counterpart, but it's really asking you to look at those things because here's the thing, the person, your soulmate in this lifetime, your divine counterpart also doesn't want that version of you.
No.
They want, like, again, highest expression of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are catering or shape shifting and molding yourself to be, whoever this person wants you to be or who you think you need to be, it's like that right there is a sign this is not your person. So even separating the person out of it completely, it's like, oh, what a cool opportunity is right in front of me right now, that this means I'm getting this much closer to my soulmate divine counterpart. Cool. Let me look at what this is bringing up in me because I know that that person wants like the absolute best version of me, all of me, the most unapologetic parts of me. And where am I not doing that here? It's like such an opportunity. And it's a really good sign because it's like, cool, you are getting closer to your person.
Yeah.
And if you will stop long enough to do the work instead of engaging in that dynamic, you can shift so quickly and then collapse, your person into your timeline.
Mm, I love that. It's true.
Yeah.
It's so true. I mean, and like there are people that are just coming in just to show you how close you are, just to be like, hey, they've got a lot of qualities you want, but not quite, not quite. Don't
Yeah.
settle. Don't take that one. That's not yours.
Yeah. That's not yours, not for you.
But
Yeah.
I love that because it does give you like a lot of hope to be like, oh, okay, wait, I'm making really good choices. This person's close, but not quite it. I'm gonna keep
Yeah.
moving forward and like wait. Because, I mean, my God, we've seen so many relationships that were just forced
Yeah.
or have been over for years, but they stay together. It's just, you know, when it's over, it's
I have
over.
experienced people who will take 6 months to choose a painting to hang on their wall, and they will take 2 weeks to convince themselves that Mr. or Mrs. Wrong is right. Like
Mm,
the thought, it's so interesting with Ruth. I just think we all want to be chosen and we want to be loved. And we're ready to like abandon ourselves so much in that process to be chosen or be loved. And that is, I think, one of the biggest karmic lessons as a collective we're walking through.
oh gosh, speak more about that, like as a
Yeah.
collective. Like, how
Yeah.
does that show up as well? I mean, we are going through a ridiculous like dating. isolation phase right now where
Mhm.
people are like, I hate the apps, but I also don't want to leave my house. You
Right.
know, we're also incredibly picky
Hmm.
and our standards are too high. Our attentions are that of a gnat. Like,
Hmm.
what do you think we are collectively going through right now, like
Yeah.
in finding love?
I think there's a shift in what love is because I do think, this time of this isolation, this disconnection is very much serving a purpose. I mean, I believe everything is not wasted, right? Like there is a reason everything is taking place. There's nothing accidental about the divine.
Mm,
However, I think what the definition of love was actually really distorted. I mean, think about how many of our parents and grandparents stayed in relationships that never should have because that wasn't an option to leave or it was so frowned upon. And so, I think a lot of what was viewed as love was incredibly distorted in what the actual love frequency is. And so then I think you have to, have the pendulum swing all the way to the other side where we're in this isolation and this beautiful time period where we can also return to ourselves. There's a reason like
yeah.
everybody is talking about identity right now
Yeah.
because as a collective, there is this shift and it's not an identity crisis. It's a reckoning, a realization of not living who we are and how we're meant to. I don't think that would have happened if we didn't have this period of isolation. And even with social media, I think that social media plays a big role in this as well. And so I think that's where we're at right now. And we're starting to come back to like the pendulum in the middle of what is love. Love is not a contract, right? Like we saw love as a marital contract. And what does
Mhm.
that mean? And what role must you play? And maybe gender
Mhm.
roles played. There's so
Mhm.
many different programs with that that I think this
Yeah.
period of time has started to dismantle, right?
Yeah.
And then it comes back together. And I think in that in between, we start to actually realize what is love when it's not what we've been programmed or told, and how can we experience it maybe in a different way.
Boom. All right.
I think that's what we're all
Perfect.
collectively walking through right now.
Yeah. I agree. I really do agree. I think it's very interesting that people are really taking, especially women, we're really taking our autonomy seriously. We're
Hmm.
being very protective of ourselves because I mean we've been through too much at this point.
For
just as
real.
just as women in general, it's just too much. We're like
Mhm.
enough. Like it stops here. It ends here.
Yeah.
And I love that for us. I
Yeah.
think that as a I think women who have chosen to be like female in this like lifetime have really chosen collectively to show men who are like chosen to be men in this lifetime like what we will not take anymore. And it's not
Right.
all of us, but it's a big amount of us to be like,
Hmm.
hi, no, this isn't enough. It's just not even
Right.
close to enough.
Right.
And gosh, it's just interesting to like watch like older generations react to some of this like feminism or whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, this is really just we're asking for respect. We're
Right.
asking for you to show up way more than you have before. Like
Yeah.
the at least a fraction of how we've shown up forever. And if
Hmm.
you can't, and if you make me more upset than I was when I first met you, like it's really not worth it.
It's so true. And I think despite what the world stage shows us or media shows us, I think that there are so many men who are meeting us right here where we're at and also felt the same way,
Mm,
and want to see us in our full expression. I think like in the same way we've been waiting for that, I think they have too, like that
yeah,
divine feminine frequency that is in both of us,
yeah.
is like also recalibrating through all of this. And what we're looking at with maybe those more toxic structures, it's more the mass programming that's taking
Mm-hmm,
place. But I think when you look at it on a micro scale,
mm-hmm,
there are so many men who are like so ready for this as well. And I think they're even
yeah,
being activated into their like more divine, masculine,
yeah.
healthy role as well, which I think is really, really cool. And I think, there's so much around all the different narratives. I know one that I've always really struggled with is like, what is my value as a woman? Because I'm 39, I'm not married, I don't have kids, I do want both of those things.
Mm-hmm,
Who am I and what is my value? Because sometimes society can reflect that the value has changed, right?
yeah.
When we're not following those certain circumstances. for certain, societal programs. But I think that is part of the beauty of what's happening right now as we all work through that personally. I know I work through it on a regular basis. I would say 90% of
Same.
the time I know my value, but there are times where I'm like, oh, I don't fit in here and I don't know what I'm doing and I do want these
Yeah,
things. So like, what's wrong with me that I don't have these things? Like I can get into those narratives, right?
absolutely same.
But I think that's also a really important part of healing the wound of being unchosen is like I have to fully choose myself first. And if I'm thinking in those ways, I'm not doing that. I'm waiting for someone to choose me.
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge shift. There's so much and again, I know the world stage does not always look like it because there is a lot of bad things that are happening in the world as well. But I think there's a really beautiful shift that's happening underneath the I don't know, foundation of that, like below, underneath the surface, what we can't see. I think there is a
Yeah.
beautiful shift happening.
Yeah. It's like when a seed is planted and it's growing, but you don't see it.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
agree. I do. I really agree because I think if women are having this like metamorphosis, so are men. And I think you're right. I think a lot of men just feel confused of like what they need to be. They want to be it. They're
Hmm.
just kind of like help. And there's a lot of like men's groups happening, and I'm not talking about the bad ones. I'm not talking about
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of men who are really trying to like be in their masculine and like their
Yeah.
divine masculine and be respectful of women and like cherish us and love us
Mhm.
and all of that is very karmic, right? I mean, as a
Yeah.
collective, like, wow, what an incredible shift to go from such a like 1950s, housewifey, like husband goes to work situation
Yeah.
to, what we saw in like the 60s and like what we're seeing now. I mean, traditional gender roles absolutely exist still, and some people really want that, and that is their journey. And then
Yeah.
there's a lot left on the table to be had and to be discovered of like what works for people. And I think that's why we are seeing so many different types of relationships, which
Yeah.
also play into karmic relationships.
It
I
does. It
mean,
totally does.
I think we're just as a collective just like really experimenting like what feels right now. Like if that didn't
Mhm.
feel right, like what feels right? Is it me being
Right.
in a throuple? I don't know.
I know there's a lot of very interesting dynamics.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think, everyone's just trying to like find their way and figure it out. And I do think a lot of those relationship dynamics can also be a distraction for what you're actually meant to be
Yeah.
learning. I think everything is like along the way, just bringing you home closer to yourself. And if you can just, one of the things I always say with my clients is like just step out and be the observer of whatever it is you can start to see every interaction, every little thing that's happening as like a moment of a choice point. Like, am I continuing this? Is there something I'm learning here? What is this reflecting in me? What is this creating? Yeah, and I think everybody gets to have whatever that relationship experience is that they want. And, if it's not coming from wounding, then it's beautiful that you get to experience whatever it is that you're manifesting. It's recognizing when it comes from wounding, which has been a huge lesson for me in this lifetime.
All of us. All of
Yeah.
us. I mean, we're all the walking wounded. It's
Hmm.
just
Oh, that's so true.
it's just a matter of like, can you go ahead and work on your wounding? And
Mhm.
it's not like it goes away. I mean, it's there, it happened, but
Right.
can you make a different choice when it presents itself again, when it gets
Yeah.
triggered?
Always. You can always make a different choice. You can always make a different choice. You
Mm-hmm.
just have to sometimes pause long enough to even see the choices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Just stepping back. I love the bird's eye view observer kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because so many times I've just been like, God, I just can't see the forest for the trees. I just really, really can't see. Like, I
Yeah.
know it's there. I just cannot see it. I can sort of
Hmm.
feel that there's like a presence, but I just can't see what I'm trying to
What it
see.
is.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
just taking your time. But I loved
Yeah.
this conversation. I feel like we went very deep, and I know the people that love
We always
this
do.
will, I know, but the people that love this will love this and be like,
Yeah.
more. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Is there anything you'd want to like end with? Any
Hmm.
words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom. Let me just think for a minute. I think just trust the process and trust what's unfolding in front of you right now. And remember that life truly is a mirror of whatever is going on in your internal world. So you are so much more powerful and have so much more control than you think you do. And if you can just envision that for a moment to step out and look at that mirror and decide, make that different choice, you can change your reality so much quicker. So, yeah, just to feel empowered, know that you are truly the creator, even when it feels like you're not, and that there's a divine intelligence that is always available to you that you can pray to, invoke, talk to in some way, and ask for help, and know that it will always arrive.
I love that. It's
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you so much, Kristen. If you
Yeah.
want to get in touch with Kristen, you can just click on all the links in the show notes. She's right there. You go talk to her.
Yes, please do. I'd love to chat with all of your audience for sure.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. This was so fun, and I'm sure I'll be back again soon, and you'll come on my podcast soon as well.
Yes!
Fun.
Perfect.